USA is a very powerful country with everything, and they have lots of secrets to hide from the world. They are not little secrets. And today we going to show you guys the top 10 US government secrets they don't want you to know. And if you like this video, please click the subscribe button to give us a support. Number 1. CIA mind control experiments. Could drugs and hypnosis be used to control people's minds and turn them into unwitting assassins for the CIA? That's what the agency attempted to discover in the 50s, with a top-secret research program called Project MKUltra. Turns out, LSD just makes people want to listen to 45-minute guitar solos. Number 2. The US government had a plot to kill Castro. There were a lot of crazy attempts to assassinate Cuban dictator Fidel Castro during the 70s, from booby-trapped cigars to poison milkshakes, but none quite so nutty as the exploding seashell. The CIA knew that Castro was a big fan of scuba diving, so they plotted to plant a brightly colored conch shell in one of his favorite dive spots, triggered to explode when he touched it. They never followed through on it, although the CIA director did purchase 2 books on Caribbean mollusks. Number 3. The President's Secret Underground Train. President Franklin D. Roosevelt didn't want the public to see him using a wheelchair, so to keep that secret during his visits to New York, his train didn't stop directly at Grand Central Station, but rather a secret station called Track 61 that was never listed on any train map. Although it's now abandoned, the station was used by wealthy travelers and high-profile politicians who wanted to come and go to New York without being noticed. Number 4. The US government once tried to train spy kitties. No, this isn't a joke. The CIA seriously spent millions in the late 60s investigating whether domesticated cats could be trained to spy on the Soviet Union. The project was named Acoustic Kitty, because of course it was. It didn't work out, much to the surprise of nobody, but this memorandum, published by the National Security Archive, to prove that spy kitties was almost a real thing. Number 5. Project Sunshine, stealing corpses. Listen, if you need to test what happens to human bodies during radioactive fallout and you need around 900 human cadavers to do so, you can't be expected to ask all the deceased's families for their permission. Or at least that's what researchers for the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission thought during the 50s. Decades later, in the mid-90s, President Bill Clinton formed an advisory committee to investigate and learn the whole staggering truth. Number 6. Nukes on the Moon. Long before we landed on the Moon in 1969, the U.S. Air Force had other plans for the lunar surface. They proposed a lunar-based Earth bombardment system in 1959, which apparently involved blowing up a nuclear weapon on the Moon. Why? According to physicist Leonard Riefel, who was involved in the project, the whole point was to impress the world with the prowess of the United States. Personally, we're glad they went with the one small step for man plan instead. Number 7. Operation Paperclip. Let's hire some Nazi scientists. No one could have accused the U.S. government of having discriminatory hiring practices in 1945. Well, at least not if you were a Nazi. Post-World War II, President Harry Truman approved the hiring of thousands of German scientists and engineers, including Walter Schreiber, a medical military officer for the Nazis who found a second job at the Air Force School of Medicine in Texas. Number 8. Blame Cuba. It sounds like a conspiracy theory, but the CIA actually did propose committing acts of terrorism against American citizens and then blaming it on Cuba. A memo from March 13, 1962, delivered to the President by the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff and dubbed Operation Northwoods, suggested ways to justify a military conflict with the Castro's communist regime, including sink a ship near harbor entrance, conduct funerals for mock victims and blow up a U.S. ship in Guantanamo Bay and blame Cuba. President Kennedy rejected the proposal. Number 9. Government-controlled flying saucers. Project 1794, a program created by the U.S. Air Force in the 50s, attempted to do what every science fiction-loving kid dreamed about, create a flying saucer. Their saucer-shaped aircraft, which they never got around to completing, would have been capable of shooting down enemy bombers and flying at ridiculously fast speeds. If you feel up to the task of making your own saucer. Number 10. The My Lai Massacre. Hundreds of unarmed civilians, anywhere from 347 to 504, including women and children, in the South Vietnamese hamlet of My Lai, were murdered by a platoon of American soldiers during March of 1968. High-ranking Army officers tried to cover up the massacre for years before it was revealed by U.S. reporters, but even then only one commanding officer was found guilty and served just a few years under house arrest.